Here's my lovely audience. Okay, my name is Josh Camitta. I'm an aspiring golf professional at the College of Golf, Kaiser University in Port St. Lucie, Florida. I'm training to be a teaching professional at a country club, and my objective here today is to try to shave some strokes off your guys' short game and see if we can better our understanding of strategy and mechanics rather than just pounding balls to the range in order to achieve a better performance on the course. So we'll start with putting. The easiest shot in golf mechanically. It's a simple sway back and forth of your shoulders. The most important part of putting is simply reading the green properly. There's a few different factors that go into that. You crouch down, you try to see the contours, the undulations, and you also want to know the topography and the type of turf you're dealing with. The grasses in Florida have much more grainy and sandier soil, so the way the grass grows actually affects the roll of the ball. With that being said, we try to pick. Once you have your line and you can visualize the ball rolling down your line and into the hole, you want to also pick an intermediate target to help you more accurately define that line. So if I'm putting at the cup that's about 30 feet away, I'm going to more likely hit my spot if I can pick a target that's 2 feet ahead of me as opposed to the 30-foot target away, which is my ultimate target being the cup. So if I can hit my target a foot away, it should roll on that line consistently down to where I visualized, and it should be a good result or close to. While putting may be the most mundane and boring thing to practice, however, unfortunately it is about 35 to 45% of the total strokes on a round. So while it may be a little boring, it certainly that's the best thing you can do to shave off some strokes from your game. Practice that putting and your strokes will go right down there with it. The second easiest stroke in golf we'll segue now into is chipping. Chipping is a sort of shot done usually with a sand wedge or another lofted club. And with that being said, I have a sand wedge here. And the idea with chipping is to have maximum roll time, minimum air time. And the reason for that is when the ball's on the ground, we can kind of estimate and gauge how it's going to react to the turf. When it's in air, we really have no control over it with wind, and there's so many different factors to try to manipulate when the ball's in air as opposed to being on the ground. So I'll have the sand wedge here, and going on that same principle of maximum roll time, the ball will be positioned in the back of your stance, the back foot. And it is a simple, very similar to the putting stroke, a simple sway of the shoulders with a slight, ever so slight, if you can see here, I have a slight hinge in the wrist here. And that's simply to keep your hands in front of the head of the golf club. And that'll promote a better, more consistent strike. With that being said, when you're choosing a club to chip with, it's simply the same stroke every time, and you just change the club, which is changing the loft essentially. So if I'm trying to get over the lip of the green here, I'll take this sand wedge and give it a little bump, and it'll lift the ball up just enough to get over that little hump, and so it can start rolling smoothly. If I, for example, had a clear shot onto the surface, I maybe use a 6 or 7 iron, which is less loft, more of a flat face, and it would have a much less of a bump, that bump trajectory. It'll be just rolling continuously right from the start. Moving on, we'll move to the bunker shots next, the sand play. While the sand may seem to the average Joe golfer the most intimidating, with that being said, it really is one of the easiest shots in golf. While people think they may have to get down and scoop the ball out and do all these sorts of fancy things that you haven't done your whole round, it really is it's easy as you make it. You simply want to open your stance, open your club face like this. This would be square. This would be open, adding loft to the club. And it's simply having a simple hinge in the wrist, and you want to be sure you're striking aggressively and accelerating through the hitting zone. And that will let you achieve a more consistent strike. And when coming out of the bunker, a consistent strike is everything because you really want to be able to gauge the spin you have of the ball. And also another reason why it's the easiest shot in golf, really, if you think about it, theoretically, you never actually hit the ball. The idea in a bunker shot is to hit about an inch before the ball, letting the sand under the ball explode through, then lifting the ball out of the surface, out of that bunker area. So essentially, you never even hit the ball. That's why bunker play should not be feared upon. And moving on, the most difficult, only because it's the longest swing that you'll ever have to use in your short game. And when I say short game, it's usually about 125 yards and in. Would be the pitch shot. Now this shot has been made famous by Phil Mickelson and countless other pros. But I'll use Phil Mickelson as an example here. He has a method he uses when teaching called the hinge and hold. Simply me at address here, you can see my wrists, obviously only one working wrist here. I will simply hinge the wrist as my first move on the takeaway. Instead of the normal glide takeaway, you really want to just hinge it at first to get that hinge motion, and you take the club back simply as far as you want to hit the ball. This may be my 50-yard shot, this may be 55 yards, this may be 70. It really depends on the club and the player, most importantly. So with that being said, you get your hinge, and simply the hold is holding that angle with your wrists through the hitting zone. You never want to get choppy and start breaking your wrists and flicking at the ball, thinking that, ooh, if I want to get it off the ground, I must flick it and scoop under it. It's actually the opposite in golf. You want to maintain that wrist angle with the hinge, and you want to hold that angle through. So like we said, it's a consistent strike every time, and you know how the ball is going to react on the green. There's an old saying in golf, putt when you can, chip when you can't putt, and pitch when you have to. And that's words that I'll stick by. I hope this was a great little tutorial to help you guys out with your short game in golf, in all aspects of the short game, whether it be bunker play, pitching, chipping, or putting. It is really as simple as you want to make it. So thank you for your time, and I hope you go out there and shoot well.